Firstly, very good morning to you all. Hope you're well, hope you're safe, hope you're all staying dry, and I hope you're all staying very, very busy at the same time. So today, I'm delighted that we're going to be joined by Emma Spears. Emma Spears works for a company called Ballyhoo PR. For those that may know, Emma actually used to work for the Chamber many, many years back and used to be our editor of the In Business magazine, as well as our PR. So nobody knows the Chamber, I'd think, as good as Emma does when it comes to the various stuff that we do in relation to awards, PR, exposure, marketing, etc., etc. But the aim of today's session is to provide you all with some tips and advice. Behind me, you can see our board for the Northamptonshire Business Awards 2023, which is now live. This year, we've got 15 categories up for grabs. Please take a look at some of the categories which are available. There genuinely is something for everybody, whether it's Best New Business, Small Business of the Year, High Growth Business of the Year, Customer Commitment Award, Workplace Wellbeing, and everything in between. We've also got some new awards this year, which is our Sustainability Award, which is sponsored by our West Northamptonshire Council, along with Poppy Design Studios, and our new in the Workplace Award, which is sponsored by Learning and Skills Academy. But the aim of today is to give you some tips, give you some advice. This is an open session. Feel free to ask any questions at any given time. Emma has worked with numerous customers in the past who I believe some have actually gone on and won local awards, not just our awards, but other local awards at the same time. So without further ado, I won't steal her thunder. Over to you, Emma.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for the intro, Sunny. So I am Emma Spears. I run Ballyhoo PR. We've been going about 7 years now. We enter lots of awards for lots of clients, not just local ones, but national ones and trade awards too. And I'm really kicking myself that I haven't kept some sort of tally as to how successful we've been. The hit rate is quite impressive, if I do say so myself. But yeah, I haven't got the stats to hand, unfortunately. But hopefully the tips that I give you today will all enable you to pull together a winning award entry. I'm just going to share my screen with you because I've prepared some slides. Can everybody see this? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've just kind of said this, but a bit about me then. So I do run Ballyhoo PR. We have worked with lots of different businesses, lots of different business sizes as well. So from one-man bands right through to big global businesses in a wide variety of different sectors. So it could be that you're offering sort of business to business services, or it could be that you export products worldwide. Hopefully everything I show you today will be relevant to everybody all across the board. So what are the benefits of entering awards? Well, there's lots. Here are just a few that I've pulled together. So it builds trust. If people see that you're an award winner, they know that you've been judged by an independent board of judges. So automatically that builds trust if you have a logo on your email signature or your website that says you're an award winner. Again, it demonstrates excellence at what you do. If you win an Employer of the Year category, for example, then it's demonstrating that you're an excellent employer. Makes you stand out from your competitors. Again, there's lots of people that can say they're brilliant at something, but you have this stamp that proves that somebody else thinks you're brilliant at it too, which gives you the edge over any of your competitors. It gives your business a stage, quite literally. If you are through to the final or you win an award and you go up on stage, then there is a room full of people that might never have heard of you before that are seeing and hearing about your business for the first time. Pre and post event PR opportunities. So again, if you find out you're a finalist for an award, you can send out a press release to the local paper, for example, and maybe get yourself on the local radio to talk about it and say how excited you are that you might win. And then there's also things that are run by the award organisers. So for example, there'll be an awards brochure that will have details of you in if you reach the final. Your name will even be on a table plan. So again, if there's people milling around that table plan looking for where they're going to sit and they see your business name, but oh, I've not heard of those, might look them up. And then afterwards, if you're lucky enough to win, then yeah, you're kind of plastered everywhere. You'll be all over the website, the social media channels of the award organisers. Again, you can do your own press release, or you might be featured in one that's done by the award organisers. Again, you could be on the radio, you might even be on the TV, depending on the awards. Networking opportunities as well. If you're a finalist and you're there on the night, quite often I've won business just from sitting on the same table as someone at an awards evening, where you get chatting, bit of small talk over the meal, and then realise that actually you could work together. It's a great morale boost and recognition for your team as well. And again, this could be something you've achieved that you're celebrating together, or it could just be the fact that you invite them to come along with you and join in your successes. You know, it's a great evening. All the team can get together, they can socialise, they can feel that they've made a difference and that they're getting recognition for all the efforts that they put into your business. Again, if you're a finalist or a winner, you can use it in any tenders, proposals or sales pitches. Really get every last drop out of it. That's what I would advise. And then talent attraction as well. If you're an award-winning business, particularly if it is for something like sustainability or well-being, that can really attract the right talent and, you know, skills to your business if you're looking to recruit. And these benefits are also related to the reasons why you might want to enter an award in the first place. So that talent attraction is a key one. If you're looking, you know, you've got a big recruitment campaign coming up, think what award categories could I enter? If you go for Employer of the Year, then that will obviously help you in that as you go further throughout the year. So yeah, things to consider when choosing an award category to go for. So I've just touched on it there. Think about your wider business plans for the year. What do you actually want to be known for, and what do you think might help you achieve those plans and goals? So if you're looking to reduce your carbon footprint, then yeah, or get known for the work you've already done in that area. Enter a green award or sustainability award. If you want to be seen as an Employer of the Year because you're planning on recruiting lots over the next 12 months, then obviously that's the right category for you. Customer service as well. If you know, for example, that you're working in an industry where it's maybe got a bit of a bad reputation for customer service, such as construction or car sales, estate agency, then if you win a customer service award, then that is really going to give you some credibility and help you to grow your business. So yeah, just consider categories carefully and think, actually, does this fit in with anything else that we're trying to achieve this year? And then think, honestly, have you done enough to win this? Go over that criteria with a fine-tooth comb and think, okay, we might have, I don't know, started recycling, but are we really good enough to win a sustainability or green award? Probably not. Let's revisit that in a year's time. Oh, but we have achieved this with our apprentice, for example. Maybe we should have enter Apprentice of the Year instead. So yeah, read through the criteria of every one of the categories, I would advise, actually, because there might be one that you've just assumed isn't right for your business, but then when you actually read what they're looking for, it might match up. I had this actually earlier this year, entering a client for an award. He is a sole trader and he's been in business for about 15 years. He suggested that we entered the Businessman of the Year category for these awards. And I had a looked at the criteria and I said, actually, you're going to be up against some really big guys for Businessman of the Year that are you know, running multi-million-pound companies. Why not go for the freelancer or self-employed person of the year? And then when we looked through the criteria, we're like, actually, we can prove that you have done all of the things here. And he did end up getting through to the final, but he said, I would never have picked that category for myself. And again, maybe the Businessman of the Year one is something that he can look to aim for in a few years' time. It's just not right for him right now. So yeah, be honest with yourself and think, have you got enough or have you done enough to win that category? Also think about proof. What proof do you have that you have done the things that you're going to say in your entry? And what could you gather in the time that you've got? So if you're going for a high growth award, for example, what proof do you have of this growth? Can you get your finance team to pull together some charts and graphs for you in the next few days? Is that quite doable? Because that would increase your chances of winning. If you've run some events, have you got any photos from those events? If you've taken on new premises, have you got a photo of those new premises? So yeah, just kind of think about the things that you're going to be talking about and what you can use to evidence that as proof. I touched on it there about the self-employed guy, but yeah, who could be your competition? Again, not that you should compare and despair, but if you know, for example, that one of your competitors is likely to go for these awards and they might have done everything you've done and a bit more, maybe think about going for a different category where you stand a little bit more chance. And again, it's something you can work towards, but maybe you're not quite there yet. Also, you can use your competition in a positive light and think, actually, say it was someone who won last year. What do you know that they've done that could have made them an award winner? And is that something you've done that you can shout about? And would winning this category be on brand? So it's all very well kind of reading the criteria and think, oh yeah, we've done that, but it's, I don't know, for example, say it's female businesswoman of the year, a businesswoman of the year category, but you've only got one woman in the business. Is it worth going for that? It might be. You might want to attract more women to the business, but if it's, you might match up in criteria, but is it really relevant to your brand and what you want to be known for? So ask yourself those questions and when you're considering which category to go for. And now I'm going to cover the importance of criteria really, and how you can use it to your advantage when you're putting an award entry together. Because there are lots of sort of subliminal hints given in all this information that you could quite easily miss. So yeah, also look at the description of the awards, not necessarily the criteria. So there might be on the website maybe a box that says, you know, have you achieved high growth? Have you taken on new staff? Have you taken on new premises? Think about what they're actually mentioning in the blurb and make sure that you use that to your advantage and that you talk about those things in your entry, even if they're not listed again in the questions, because it is something that has obviously been on their radar and they want to see from people. Look at the criteria wording. So we're going to go through this in a bit more detail in a minute, but yeah, look at absolutely everything, the language, the wording. Are there any keywords that you can pull out and use in your entry? And I liken it to thinking of a job application, a covering letter. How many of you have applied for a job and then you've gone through the advert and then pulled out all the keywords and things that they're asking for in the advert and put that in your covering letter? It's a similar sort of idea. And then I would advise that you create your own questions from this information on a separate Word document. And it might sound like extra work, but it really does help. And I'll go through our sort of way of doing things in a minute. So yeah, here is some example criteria that were kind of pulled off the Chamber Awards website. So if you were to go for the Employer of the Year category, here's an example. So you can see sort of just under where it says Employer of the Year, there's like a 3-line paragraph. This is the awards description or blurb. So the award recognises organisations that demonstrate excellence in the promotion and implementation of a learning and development culture. Entrants for this award must communicate how this culture has contributed to their business achieving outstanding success. So it's kind of a summary, and it already tells you that this is going to be quite heavily focused on learning and personal development. So already have a bit of a think about what you've done in that area and not just what makes you a great employer. You need to be thinking in the same way that the organisers are thinking. And then the judging criteria is clearly listed here in these 4 bullet points. So the judges will be looking at why learning and development is important to the organisation, how training needs and skills requirements are assessed, investment, commitment and support given to staff, and the direct benefit gained from both individuals and the organisation. So what I would do, I mentioned earlier about coming up with your own questions. I would take this information, put it in a Word document, and then come up with my own questions that relate to this. And they don't have to be like a 200-word answer like, you know, you will find for the actual award entry questions, but just like a line or two, almost like notes or a memory jogger to you, because this is completely for you and to support you. Nobody will see this that I'm asking you to do now, but it's like a notes document. So what do you do around learning and development in your business? So again, have a think about that. How do you promote that to staff? Is learning and development a big part of your business culture? If so, and how? If not, what can you do to make sure that it is implemented in the future as part of your business culture? How has learning and development in your business contributed to its success? Why is learning and development important to the organisation? How are training needs and skills requirements assessed? How much have you invested in training over the last 12 months? And again, looking at where there are opportunities to squeeze in statistics will also strengthen your award entry. So again, wherever you see that there might be an opportunity to slip something in that will make you stand out from all the other entries and is particularly impressive, definitely get it in there. And again, looking over the last 12 months, that's key, because obviously you're going to be something of the year. So you do need to focus on activities you've done in the last 12 months rather than what you've done ever. So yeah, how much have you invested? What training and support have you already committed to for the coming 12 months? So again, this is a forward-thinking statement, but again, showing that you are committed. So if you've had any annual appraisals, for example, and you've identified some key learning opportunities for members of staff, mention those in your entry. Maybe you've already paid for a course, so you can say we've already invested X amount in training for the next 12 months and expect this to grow. How have individuals benefited from the learning and development received, and give an example, so almost like a case study of how somebody in your business has benefited from training, and yeah, how what they've brought to the business because of it, how they've grown as a person. Maybe they've been able to, if it's sales training, they've increased your turnover by X amount. Really look to prove and demonstrate and quantify where you can. So you can see from going back and looking at this awards blurb and the criteria that we've already kind of dived a bit deeper and actually started to think about how those could form questions, which will then give you the notes to put in your award entry. And again, I know it sounds like it's creating a lot of extra work, but you only really need to put a line for each of these, and then they serve as memory joggers so that when you come to do the actual entry, you're including these things that may not have been asked for, which will give you the edge over somebody else.
Emma, quick question.
Yeah.
Really good advice there already, and some really great tips. Looking at this as an example, the Employer of the Year, and it clearly says what the judge is looking for, and you've covered that in the learning and development.
Mm-hmm.
If we were thinking of, say, applying for an award like that, what would be your advice on going above and beyond? Because if I look at Employer of the Year, I also need to be thinking about flexible working, well-being, workplace well-being, and all the other additional benefits of what a great employer looks like. So even though that's not directly listed what the judge is looking for, what would you do in that instance in terms of that added extra? Would you mention it or would you not mention it?
Definitely mention it. Obviously, I think when you're looking at which awards you want to go for, you have already got in mind things that you know that you do well. So yeah, definitely mention them. Again, it's thinking about where you mention them within your entry as well. So I think the judges will be able to tell if you've shoehorned in some things that aren't particularly relevant. But if it matches up, because again, we've not got to the actual writing of the entry yet, or the actual questions. But yeah, if whilst doing this, it sort of brings on some other ideas that you think I definitely want to mention that. Yeah, definitely make a note of that, and then have a look when you're going through the questions to think, where is it appropriate to kind of get that in there? Does that help? Does anybody else have any questions?
Can I ask one, Emma?
Yeah.
Would you bullet point, or would you give a full explanation on points?
It depends on what word count you've got. I think I would probably give a full explanation if I could. And then if you're limited, so I think the Chamber Award entries, for example, around about 200 words an answer, I would then go back through and edit it. And if it means then that you have to use bullet points, yeah, that's fine. I think as long as you manage to get across everything you want to get across.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think Brendan there, just from a chamber perspective on the Northamptonshire Business Awards, for complete transparency, it's 200 words, but I think someone mentioned it earlier, is getting that evidence and using the attachments to confirm that evidence with anything additional you want in addition above to that.
Yeah.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
I've also got Annabelle here with me as well.
No.
If you would, when I'm talking. We obviously are a national firm. We're thinking this year of nominating ourselves. We weren't thinking of Employer of the Year, but we are now, having read like the criteria.
Okay.
We're obviously a national firm, but a very local office.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas some of our things sort of come from a national level, we're very focused on a local level to push it.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for sort of those kind of nominations where there's a mixture of both, but we want to focus on the local side because it's in a local awards?
I would think about the things that you've achieved at a national level, and if any of those achievements are relevant to the award that you're going for, put those in. And you can also add like a sentence along the lines of, and we're keen to implement this at a much more local level. Or if it's, I don't know, say we employed 20 staff across the business nationally, 5 of these were in Northamptonshire, I would just kind of put it in context, make it relevant, but I would still talk about what you're doing nationally because it's impressive, and you don't want to minimize your achievements. You want to, shout about them. Does that help?
Yeah, I mean, we're very proud, obviously, being a part of a large national firm, but at the same time, we are uber proud of, the fact that we've been here over 100 years as a small local office. So
Yeah,
we kind of want
definitely.
to push that. But we're also conscious things like learning and development does come from more national level down.
Yeah. And again, that could be something that gives you the edge over competitors, that you can say that you've had this framework in place for X amount of years and it's come from a national level, and you're proud to be able to bring it to Northamptonshire.
Okay, brilliant. So we should be proud of the national side and not necessarily hide it.
Yeah,
but obviously
definitely.
Convert it to local.
That's it. Just provide that context so it is relevant for business awards.
That's good to know. Thank you.
So yeah, coming to writing your actual entry. So yeah, I've just grabbed the first couple of questions here, but there obviously are quite a few as you go along. So again, I would use a separate Word document, whether it's the same when you started doing your notes on and you just start the actual award entry a bit further down, or you have a completely separate document, it's up to you. But yeah, have a look. The actual questions you will see are quite short. And I think this is where people fall down, because they think, oh, I've got 200 words to write about whatever I want. What makes me a great employer, for example. And yeah, they're not kind of getting across the stuff that the judges are looking for. So yeah, please provide a brief description of your business, the products or services it supplies, its customers and the markets it operates in. So you'll find that the first few questions are a bit more general. And sometimes, depending on the awards, they might actually be the same questions for each category. So if you were entering more than one category, you could use the same information for sort of the first answer, if it is just a general business background. So you can see here that I've just kind of put different arrows to focus on different things. So I know it's like teaching granny to suck eggs, but this is the actual question, and it sounds really easy, but the amount of people that do award entries and don't answer the actual question. So yeah, have a look at the question, what it is asking. So if you just did a description of your business in 200 words, but you didn't actually cover the markets that you operate in, for example, you've not fully answered the question. So yeah, look at the keywords that you want to include. So you want to talk about your business, you want to talk about products, you want to talk about services, talk about your customers, and talk about the markets you operate in. So break it down and make sure you include all of those. And then it has got helpful notes on the side there. So again, just memory joggers to make sure that you are including those. And I would probably apply a little bit of maths there as well and think, well, I've got 200 words to sort of cover 4 bullet points. It's roughly 50 words a bullet point. And just to make sure, again, that you're not leaving anything out, or that you're not just squeezing it into like the last sentence because you've run out of words. Yeah, try and apply a bit of maths as well. Yeah, the second question, similar format. So outline any trends in your sales turnover and profit development, together with a brief description of any key events. So again, the things that I mentioned earlier, are you going to be able to prove this turnover and profit So is there anybody there that could do any tables or graphs for you before the 30th of June? Have a think about those things. Key events, so what things have spiked any changes? So that would be a good opportunity there to talk about the learning and development. If somebody has achieved a qualification or they've gone on a training course, and that is an event that has then led to any changes. So yeah, thinking about the notes that you made before, where can you apply some of that stuff in the different answers? Yeah, and then as I say, sort of as you're going along, think about how you can prove that and any evidence you can give. So yeah, financials, the obvious one would be any sort of graphs or charts, tables. Another thing you could do is produce an infographic, and that's a kind of visual, cheeky way of supplying quite a lot of information, but only on one attachment as well, one document. And it also looks quite visual and easy to read for the judges as well. Sometimes, yeah, tables and graphs can be a bit dry. So yeah, just kind of have a think about the evidence that you can use as well, and go along and do that obviously for all of the questions, but just make sure you're covering off those bullet points and then keep referring back to the notes that you made for yourself on what the judges are looking for, and make sure you've included everything. And as Sunny said earlier, if there is anything that doesn't fit a particular question, but you really do want to mention and shout about, have a think about how you can turn it around a little bit to make it fit. So we were talking there with Catherine about the national picture and things they've done at a national level. Is there a way where you can kind of tweak the sentencing or language a little bit so that you can include that without appearing to just be putting stuff in for the sake of it because you want to get it across? So I obviously wasn't going to sort of run through every question for that category, but hopefully that's given you a bit of a steer, and here are some more tips. So yeah, I would suggest doing the actual entry as a separate Word document, and this also helps in case you maybe go to refresh your page and then you've lost what you've done and it's not saved, or maybe you lock yourself out of your chamber account or award entry account. If for any reason you have a glitch and you have to start again, you have got the Word document there. And also, if you go to enter any other awards after this one, you have got the old entry that you can then refer to as a Word document, because it's not lost because you've gone straight into the form and submitted it. I would also advise to write in the first person, and this is generally because I personally have found more success by doing it this way. So yeah, you can sort of say, I established the business in blah, blah, blah. I am particularly proud of. It just makes it that bit more relatable and emotional, I guess, which always helps with judges. You've seen Britain's Got Talent and X Factor. If you've got a story or that you can relate to a judge in some sort of emotional level, it does help. And yeah, that leads on to the next point as well. Make it human and tell your story. And I think particularly now, you might be getting some people that are deciding to do their entry sort of via AI or ChatGPT. God, don't do that. But you need to show the human side. It isn't just a case of being robotic and seeing it as a form to fill out. You know, you need to get across who you are, what you've achieved, how great your business is. And you need to use humanized language and just try and make it as concise as you can as well. Nobody likes sort of flowery language, especially when you're on a word count. So yeah, make it to the point, but yeah, tell your story and don't be afraid to mention something that hasn't gone well. We did an award entry, I think that was for High Growth a couple of years ago, and we were talking about recruitment, and they said, actually, we've had a real nightmare with recruitment. It didn't go the way we wanted it to go. How can we put that in the award entry? I said, well, we can say that skills and recruitment is a national issue at the moment, and we've also experienced this. This is how we've overcome it. So it could be by working with a trusted agency as a partner recruitment agency. It could be changing your training and development so that there is somebody more experienced there to train junior members of staff, so that you can train them your way rather than recruiting someone that's already skilled, if that's something that you're struggling to find. So yeah, like I say, this is your business and your story, and the judges will know that it isn't completely plain sailing 100% of the time. So it might even help to shine a light on something that they weren't aware of. And yeah, obviously don't put in all your failures and expect expect it to be a winning entry. But if there is a story in there that's something you found difficult that you managed to overcome or turn around, yeah, that shows resilience, it shows persistence, it shows dedication, commitment. A lot of good things can come out of an experience that maybe hasn't gone so well. Remember to include any key messages. So if you want to be known as a business that has well-being at its heart, for example, then yeah, make sure that you do include those, but also that they are relevant to the question that you're including them in. If you want to be known as something, if you have a particular strapline or something, yeah, if there's any key messages that you would put in any of your other marketing or PR, try and see an opportunity to put those in here as well. And constantly think about how you can prove what you're saying as you write it. So we use the sort of financial thing as an example there, but there are other things you can do. So if you've grown your team, just upload a team picture, an up-to-date one. Again, that proves what you're saying about you've taken your team from maybe 4 to 10 in the last year. If there's anything else you can prove. Testimonials are great as well, not just customers as well. Sometimes having staff testimonials can really add to an entry, and it's not something that everybody tends to think to do. So if you're talking about your workplace culture or your training, yeah, ask someone in your business if they're willing to provide a testimonial about how great it is to work for you. Yeah, they can be really powerful. And social proof as well, so things like Google reviews. If you've got any of those, that would be quite an easy thing to submit. You can cut and paste them into one document, so you're managing to include a few. Yeah, letters as well. I did an award entry last year actually for an IT company where they actually had somebody send them in a thank you present and a handwritten letter. And we were entering a customer service award. So I was like, right, well, obviously we want to include this then. So they'd put a picture on their social media of this person coming in. I think she'd made them a cake, giving them the cake. So we uploaded the picture and the letter. Again, it shows that human side, but it also demonstrates that you're good at what you're saying you're good at. And then I would advise to write freely at first and then edit down. If you are thinking, I've got 200 words, I know I said there about having a guide, sort of 50 words a bullet point or however much you've got to cover. But yeah, don't think, oh, I'm already at 200, I can't write anymore. If you've got more to say, put it all down and then you can go back over it and tweak it. And then you might find that it is just a case of maybe you've said something in 10 words that you could have said in 5. And then as you're going back through, you can tweak it and take out any additional words you don't need, but you're not losing any of the information that you want to include. And then, yeah, remember to use the answers you prepared from the criteria questions at the beginning that I mentioned. So again, you're naturally, through doing that, you're dropping in some of the keywords that are mentioned, and you're covering off the stuff that you know the judges are looking for. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? I realise I've just whizzed through it.
Okay.
No. Okay.
Sorry, I just have one quick question, Emma.
Yeah.
That was really, really helpful. Thank you so much. I've made loads of notes, so thank you. The supporting documents, would you recommend having like one PDF file full of the supporting documents or lots of attachments? What would be your recommendation?
Well, normally you're guided by the award organizer. So I know the Chamber Awards, for example, you're only allowed 5 attachments and you're not allowed PDFs. So
okay.
Things like the Google reviews, I would probably put all on one document, but then maybe take a screenshot of it on your phone so that it's a JPEG.
Yeah.
So there's ways around it.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I think rather than lots of attachment, think about where you kind of condense it and put it into one document, and then just, yeah, make sure that you do look at what they're asking for and that it is the right file type and file size as well.
Okay.
Yeah, there are limits on how big the file size of attachments can be that are uploaded. So they might be automatically rejected from the system, or they just might not be looked at by judges because they can't download them.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful.
Yeah, Lucy, the technical spec is all on the award course as well.
Great.
And it's on here, it's on the next slide actually. How lucky is that?
Ah.
It's as if I knew. Yeah, so what can you use for supporting evidence? So I've just put a few ideas down here. So yeah, photos, again, these are quite good at getting across the human side of things. So it might be if you've held an event, maybe you've had a recruitment fair, or maybe you've won an award elsewhere, a big industry award. If there's a picture of you on a stage holding that award, that obviously proves that you're saying is true. But again, seeing sort of smiley faces, it brings that business to life. So it's not just words and stats on a piece of paper. You get to see the people behind the business, and I think that always helps. Yeah, financial charts, they just kind of do what they say on the tin. They can be quite easy to pull together as well. So if you're struggling, maybe you've got 3 or 4 attachments to upload as supporting evidence, you think, oh, but I could use 5, what else could I use? Yeah, knocking up a financial chart quite quickly, if it does get across what you've already said in your entry, is a good thing to do. I mentioned customer and staff testimonials. Yeah, again, they help to humanize the business, but they also prove what you're saying is true. So if you are saying you've got an amazing workplace and everybody loves to work there, you've actually got it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Likewise, if you're going for a customer service award, you really need to be supplying customer testimonials to prove that they're happy with the service. Press cut-ins, that's a big one. So if you've ever been lucky enough to feature in the Chambers in Business magazine, for example, use a cut-in of that article. So again, you can take a screenshot. The Chamber has a digital version on the website, or maybe even just email the editor if you haven't got a copy of a particular article, and ask, and you know, they can help with that. Again, what we tend to do actually as part of our PR plans with our clients is we'll meet sort of at the end of the year planning for the year ahead, and if they say we want to go for a high growth award next year, for example, we've actually had that scenario with the client. We think about the different PR stories we can get out in the media in the run up to that next award entry deadline. So when they're recruiting a new member of staff, we can put a press release out and say they've recruited a new business development manager, for example. This is the 5th hire this year, and things like that, so that then when we come to do the award entry, we're going to have all these cut-ins from articles throughout the last year, the last 12 months that we can upload. Obviously, that's a bit short notice for now, but if you have got any stories that are relevant, yeah, sort of quickly push them out now. You've got sort of, what, a couple of weeks. You might be able to get some online coverage that you can take screenshots of and use in your supporting evidence. Or if you have featured in the press over the last 12 months, go and have a look back over those articles and see, do any of them actually, are they relevant to your entry and the stuff that you're talking about that you've done? Because again, it's that sort of third party endorsement, isn't it? Like the news have deemed it worthy to cover. It's not you saying, oh, we've done this and we've written an article, it's on our website. This is somebody else that's published it for you because they think it's a great achievement and a good news story. So yeah, if you have any sort of press cut-ins, make sure that you use those. Again, if you're only limited to 5, maybe pick the strongest one, or try and find a way of putting them all onto one document that you can then upload. Certificates or qualifications. So if you've maybe achieved an ISO accreditation that shows that your processes and procedures are all top notch, then again, that could be worth uploading. Again, staff members, if any of them have completed an apprenticeship or a training course or a degree, yeah, get a picture of them holding their certificate, or just upload the certificate. Again, I would always veer towards using the people behind your business. So if you can get a picture of them with a certificate, that would be good. Oh, I've got photos on there twice. They're that good, they're that powerful. Infographics I mentioned. So again, if there's something you do, I'm trying to think of an example. So we work with a company that does asbestos removal. They put together an infographic for the end of the year, but basically it said how many clients they'd had over the last year, how many sort of removals they'd had to do, how many pieces of asbestos they'd found, sort of different lab results, but it looked quite good. So again, if there's any sort of stats that you think might be a bit dry just to put within the wording of the entry, think about how you can bring it to life with an infographic that demonstrates what you do. So it could be relating to your day job and just some of the key things that you've achieved over the last 12 months. And videos and animations. Unfortunately, I don't think you can with the chamber entry, but again, they're really good. If you have a YouTube channel, or there's something that you've uploaded to your social media that you think really encapsulates what you do, that could be seen as supporting evidence for that question number 1, where you're giving a description of your business and what you do and your products and services. If you have a general video that covers those things, then yeah, I would say that's supporting evidence, because it's supporting the answer to that question. Somebody else that we've done an award entry for, they actually did an animation that was really clever, where it told their story from the day they started and why they started their business, right through to getting their first office, the different people joining the business and where they are now. And it was probably only about 30 seconds long, but it was a little cartoon that he'd managed to get somebody to do for him on Fiverr, turned it around quite quickly. So yeah, so unfortunately, I don't think videos and animations are allowed for these particular entries, but it is another visual way of getting across something you might want to include or let the judges be aware of. Any questions? No. Nope. And then you've kind of put your entry together, you've got your supporting evidence, and then you come to upload it. So as I've advised, I would put it all onto a Word document first. And this is helpful for another reason, because it helps with the proofreading process. If you are then cutting and pasting it into the actual awards form, you do tend to notice things where you think, oh, actually, there's a typo there, or oh, hang on, that's missing a word there. And as you're kind of putting it into each of the boxes of the form, it gives you another opportunity to read your answers back and check for any kind of typos or any issues. And then it also makes sure that it fits the word count as well. If you go to cut and paste a paragraph and you see that the last 4 words aren't included or something, you know, you've miscounted somewhere, and it's a chance to kind of go back and make sure that everything's included in that word count. Look back over the criteria for the awards as a whole, and also the notes that were against the individual questions. Have you answered every question fully, or is there something else that you think you can maybe add? If there is, drop it in, and obviously edit down if that then takes you over the word count. Does the evidence that you've earmarked support what you've said in your entry? Is it actually relevant? And if you do have some really powerful supporting evidence, but you realise you've not mentioned anywhere in your entry, make sure at that point that you kind of pop in a sentence or so to make sure that it is relevant. And has everyone in your organisation who needs to see the entry seen it? So has it been signed off and approved by everybody? And it might just help having that extra pair of eyes to have a look over it, who are also aware of the business and know it inside out and think, well, actually, you haven't mentioned that, we did that. And you'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot we did that. So yeah, it can also help to make sure that you've included everything. And yeah, that leads to the next one. Is there anything you can add to make your entry even stronger? And I would also suggest doing this over a few days if you can, so that you kind of have time to write the entry, but then maybe revisit it a couple of days later with fresh eyes and wonder if there's anything else that you can add to it to make it even better. And yeah, I mentioned if there are any typos or sentences that have been chopped off, just have a quick scan for that and make sure that you do have full sentences, there aren't any words missing and there aren't any spelling mistakes. And then, yeah, going back to the criteria for the attachments. So I'll read it out because it's quite small. The criteria for the Northamptonshire Business Awards supporting evidence is as follows: a maximum of 5 attachments, and then they've said, e.g. tables, graphs or photos can be included. The attachments must be image files, JPEG, GIF, PNG or TIFF, and must not exceed 1 megabyte in, 5 megabytes in total, so like 1 megabyte each. Please note that PDF files are not allowed, and any attachments that exceed the permitted allowance or exceed the permitted file size will be deleted. So yeah, just again, cross-check your supporting evidence, upload it, double check what size it's come out at. If it has come out as too large, use Paint or something to see if you can reduce the file size down and then upload again. Don't kind of dismiss any if you don't have to, because obviously as much supporting evidence as you can include helps strengthen your entry. And find a workaround. And then, yeah, I've just literally grabbed some pictures of people who we've helped that are chamber members that have won awards. Like I say, I really wish I had the numbers for you, but we have done this for a lot, over 7 years. We've done it for a lot of businesses. We're probably averaging sort of 5 or 6 award wins a year over that time. So yeah, I'd like to think we know what we're talking about. So yeah, if you do need any help with your entries, sort of my details are there. Or if you've got any questions or want a copy of the slides or anything, just get in touch and I'd be more than happy to help.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Emma. Some really insightful tips there. I've actually made too many notes to count how many I've actually need to implement myself when the chamber are actually looking at awards to enter, not our Northamptonshire Business Awards. I'd like to open up the floor. Any questions? Does anybody have any questions for Emma or myself from a awards perspective? Or even our sponsors, as we've got a couple of sponsors on in Assets and West Northamptonshire Council. So if anybody's got any questions, please feel free to ask.
I think that was very insightful, and you realise the mistakes you made previously.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, very insightful, and I think we'll be in touch with yourself.
Oh, okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. And I know you guys, Brendan, just while I've got you, I know you guys regularly sort of have put yourself forward for awards. Just out of interest, what's the reasons for actually putting yourself forward for awards?
Well, it's obviously recognition. It's getting your name out there. It's as Emma said in our first intro. You know, with customers, if you get even nominated for award, you get a feeling of trust from your customers. It's on your email addresses, and your competition see it as well. But it's also putting the brand out there, putting the brand of the company. And as you say, you could be in a room of 350 people, and maybe only 10 people know who you are. And it's getting that exposure, which is really good. And it's also, you know, we are proud to be Northampton, and we're proud to be in Northampton area, and we like to represent Northampton businesses, and that's one of the main things that we want to pride ourselves in.
Brilliant. Be interested to know, actually. Obviously, you've all joined this webinar because you're interested in entering awards. What are your reasons for doing so?
Is that for me?
For everyone, anyone? Yeah.
I think for us, it's customer service.
Yeah.
The fact that you know, we spend a large amount of our time with our engineers on the road, servicing all this amazing equipment, and it's nice when we have received some really nice feedback from our customers especially over the last. We've only been here for 6 months, but it's nice to see that coming through. So I think we should celebrate that because we don't shout enough about it.
Definitely, yeah.
So that's one reason why I want us to enter, to focus really on all the good stuff we've been doing for our customers over the last year, 2 years, 3 years.
And that's another good point, actually, is just through doing this whole process, you can actually reflect on everything that you've achieved, where quite often in business, I think you're always looking ahead and forward planning, aren't you? And everything that's happened has happened and you don't kind of revisit it again. I think it's actually quite an enjoyable experience to look back and sort of celebrate those wins and achievements over the last 12 months.
Definitely.
I think for us, obviously sponsoring High Growth last year, sponsoring High Growth this year, Annabelle and I were looking down the list and we're like, why are we not nominating ourselves for some of these awards? Because we do some pretty amazing things. So yeah, we're going to give it a go. The trouble is, Annabelle is going on holiday next week.
Very selfish, Annabelle.
Until 4 days before the deadline, which means I'll probably be writing.
Oh,
Probably be writing it, but no, it was just a thing of, we really enjoyed sponsoring last year. We're super proud to be sponsoring this year, but we did think, why are we not putting ourselves for one or two of these, all the amazing things we've been doing.
yeah.
And we obviously saw this was coming up, and I thought, well, this perfect time. We'll see what we can do. And actually, it's been super helpful, giving us loads of tips. And even one that we weren't thinking of nominating ourselves for is probably the main one we're going to nominate for now. So it's been really insightful.
Oh, that's good. I think you'll find that as well when you start looking at the criteria for all of the categories now with this sort of way of thinking. You will find that there are categories that you probably wouldn't have gone for the title, but once you've read what they're looking for and think, actually, we could go for that one, it might change.
Any other questions for Emma, myself?
I'm okay.
Brilliant. Emma, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate that. One thing I will stress and finish on is that don't copy and paste your categories in terms of the amount. I've seen this in the past. Not wearing my Northamptonshire Business Awards cap. So I'm a judge for the Northamptonshire Food and Drink Awards. I'm a judge on the Northamptonshire Logistics Awards in the past and other ones. And you can see the entries which have just copied and pasted it. And it shows a lack of effort and a lack of time and a return. Really focus, as Emma said, really focus on the categories that you want to be recognised for, and then provide the information and the content which is in line with that. And I think what Catherine said there is really interesting, and what Brendan said there. Us Brits, we're brilliant at promoting other people. We're absolutely terrible sometimes at championing ourselves and promoting all the good work we do. And this is a great opportunity to shine the light on you guys. So I'd like to finish by saying categories are open for entry. There's 15 categories. Simply go onto the Chamber website, northend-chamber.co.uk. It's the first thing you'll see is a big banner for the Business Awards. Get yourself registered. Don't rush it through. Give yourself a week. Give yourself a couple of weeks. Slowly but surely, get the wider team involved. And dare I say, ABC, always be celebrated. And hopefully on the 7th of September at Franklin Gardens, we'll be announcing hopefully some of the people in this room here today as finalists, and then celebrating on the 23rd of November. So that's it for myself. Thanks again to Emma. If anybody's got any questions, they're welcome to pick offline directly with Emma or myself. Take care, everyone. All the best.